Can you do a video on marriage in God's eyes versus marriage in man's eyes? Like we need papers, but Adam and Eve never went to a courthouse. How does that work if God never changes? Yeah, let's talk about that. So marriage in God's eyes is absolutely just a covenant between a man and a woman. However, we have other passages that do support the piece of paper. Let's take a look. So in Matthew 22:17 through 21, Jesus is challenged. The Pharisees come to him and say, hey, should we pay taxes to Caesar? And Jesus says, show me a coin. And then he asks them, whose inscription's on the coin? And they say Caesar. So he says, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, give to God what is God's. That is supporting the human government. And you might think, well, that's a loose stretch. Yeah, it is. But let's keep going. I'm building a case. In Romans chapter 13, verses 1 through 2, Paul says, let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. And he goes on to talk about punishment for crimes and basically supports capital punishment. But we're getting a little closer to the point here. He's saying that we need to be subject to the governing authorities. And you might just say, well, that's law-abiding. That has nothing to do with marriage. Okay, let's keep going. So then we get to Peter. In 1 Peter, he tells us pretty bluntly that we do need to abide by the institutions put in place. Let's read it. 1 Peter 2, verses 13 through 17, be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be to the emperor as supreme or to the governors as sent by him to punish those who do evil and to praise of those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people. Not done yet. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover-up for evil, but living as servants of God. Honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the emperor. He said this of the most corrupt government in the history of mankind, the Roman Empire. So you have Jesus, you have Paul, and you have Peter all saying that we need to honor the government. And Peter specifically says the institutions. So while God does recognize marriage as a covenant between two people, we are encouraged to abide by the institutions put in place by the government. So if the government says you're not married unless you have a piece of paper, we need to honor that for the sake of God, for God's sake, so that we can have a testimony that we were obedient to those he put in authority over us. There are a lot of people who are very object to getting that piece of paper. The real question you have to ask is why? Why are you so afraid of the piece of paper? I feel like there's a deeper issue there. Either you are skeptical that your marriage is going to make it and you don't want to be bogged down, which means you're not truly married, or you have a mistrust of the government, in which case you still don't have a case because, again, he said those things of the Roman Empire. So no, we don't obey the government in everything they say, but in anything that does not conflict with the Word of God or God's truth, those we should be known as obedient good citizens, whether you like it or not.